When you create a pivot table, Excel applies some basic formatting so you can easily distinguish the labels and organizational layers from the data in the body of the pivot table. Excel does come with a substantial number of built-in styles from which to choose, so if you do want to change your pivot table's formatting, you can do so easily. Before I get into styles, I do want to point out that you can format individual cells within a pivot table and have that formatting stay with the cell when you pivot the table. So for example, let's say that I wanted to highlight the value 130 that is currently in cell C6, and I'll do that just by applying a yellow fill color to that cell. When I pivot the pivot table, that yellow formatting will go along with that cell. So let's say that I put company on top of the row labels area, and when I do, the formatting has stayed with the cell that contains the value 130, and I just scroll down using my mouse wheel to display it. Then if I put company back in the column labels area and scroll back up, then you can see that the cell has retained its formatting. And I'll just go ahead and clear that by clicking the cell and clicking No Fill in the Cell Fill button. If you want, you can change the formatting of your entire pivot table by applying a style which is available from the Styles gallery. Click any cell in the pivot table, and then on the Design Contextual tab, click the More button in the Pivot Table Styles gallery to see the styles that are available to you. So I'll just pick another style at random, and I'll select one here that has kind of an orangey burnt umber color. And when I click it, Excel applies that style to the pivot table. And you might have noticed when I moved my mouse pointer over any of the styles in the Styles gallery, that Excel displays a live preview of how that style would look if it were applied to the pivot table. So if I move the mouse pointer over this style or this style, I don't need to actually apply it to have Excel let me know what it would look like if I were to apply it. But now let's say that I have some existing formatting applied to a pivot table. What I'll do now is press Ctrl-Z once to remove the style that I applied, and I'll change the formatting of the Firm A and Firm B cells by pressing Ctrl-I to make the text italic, in addition to being bold. Now there are two ways that I can apply another pivot table style. I can either click the style like I did before, which applies the style and does not overwrite any existing formatting. So let's say that I apply this style. When I do, Excel retains the italic formatting for Firm A and Firm B. However, if I right-click the style, then a shortcut list of options appears, and I can either choose to apply and maintain the formatting, which is the default choice, or apply and clear formatting, which if I select, will apply the style that I just selected and also remove any existing formatting. So whereas the values Firm A and Firm B were in italics before, now they're not. Now, pivot table styles are part of Office themes, which are collections of predefined color schemes. If you apply a built-in pivot table style and then change the Office theme applied to your workbook, the built-in pivot table style changes as well. So for example, I'll apply another pivot table style, and I'll make it medium 2, which is blue. If I go to the Page Layout tab of the ribbon, and then in the Themes group, click the Themes button to display other Office themes, and I'll select another theme, say Austin. When I hover my mouse pointer over that theme, you can see how in the background it would affect the pivot table style that I'd previously selected. So if I were to hover over black tie, you can see how that would change, concourse, composite, clarity, and so on. I'm going to exit out without actually applying another theme, but hopefully you'll get the idea of what would happen if you were to change your theme while a pivot table style was applied. After you apply a pivot table style, you can turn individual elements on and off. For example, let's say that you apply a style where the even and odd rows are formatted differently. Excel refers to that scheme as banding. So to illustrate the point, I'll go to the Design tab, and then in the Pivot Table Styles gallery, I will apply the style called Pivot Table Light 16. So I'll come down to the third row, there's 15, and there is 16. When I click it, Excel applies it to the pivot table. Now this is a banded style, but the banding doesn't appear because the banded rows checkbox on the Design Contextual tab isn't selected. If I select it, you can see that the alternate rows are dark and light to help distinguish them within the pivot table. Regardless of the style you apply, you can always change the formatting of individual cells. You can also create your own custom styles. I'll show you how to do that in the next movie.